Number 10, Roach Overdose. In October 2012, an eating competition went south after the newly crowned winner collapsed and died moments after lifting the trophy. People getting sick after downing a bunch of food at these eating competitions isn't anything new. However, it was different about this particular competition in Florida because it was a cockroach eating contest. Each of the 30 contestants had to swallow as many roaches as possible. It gets even more bizarre because guess what the grand prize was? A whole python. People were shoveling disgusting roaches into their mouths trying to win a snake. 32-year-old Edward Archibald managed to outpace everybody during a Friday night show at the Ben Siegel Reptile Store some 40 miles or 64 kilometers north of Miami. But he didn't even make it out of the building when he started to feel incredibly sick. Within mere moments, he collapsed right in front of the store and passed away. Oddly enough, none of the other contestants had any issues eating insects. Edward's death even prompted investigations into the matter, and of course, it was solidified again that these roaches aren't lethal unless someone's allergic. On top of that, witnesses also stated that he didn't appear to be sick before the contest and looked like he just wanted to show off. What was he going to do with a python, though? Well, he was going to sell it to a friend, but now after his death, it's been given to his estate. Also, just in case you were wondering, the shop owner wasn't held responsible for anything, since the contestants had signed waivers stripping him of any liabilities. Number 9, Donut Try This. In April 2017, emergency workers responded to a call at a donut shop in the middle of the night. By the time they arrived, though, it was already too late. Voodoo Donut Shop, a well-known chain in Portland, Oregon, had a new challenge for its customers, where participants had to gulp down a massive, oversized donut. The half-pound donut, which was at least the size of 6 regular ones, was to be consumed within 80 seconds for this challenge. Many people had tried their hand at it before, but things went wrong for one 42-year-old, Travis Maloof, who thought it would be a good idea to go all in at 1 a.m. For context, you're allowed to have a drink or even dunk your donut in a glass to make things easier for you. On the other hand, Travis devised his strategy, which involves stuffing himself with the delicious treat and never going for a drink. As expected, that recipe for disaster didn't take long to unravel as he started choking on his food within seconds. No one realized it was terrible until he couldn't get the food out of his airways. In fact, no one could help him there, prompting a swift call to the emergency services. But again, by the time they arrived at 1 a.m., he was already dead. After the incident, a spokesperson for the Portland chain came out and said that their hearts went out to his family and his friends. What about you? Do you think you could down a donut that's 7 inches wide and almost 2 inches in thickness within 80 seconds? Number 8, Death by Pancakes. In April 2017, a Connecticut student was participating in a fundraising pancake eating competition at her university when she suddenly collapsed on the floor. 20-year-old Caitlin Nelson was the vice president of her sorority at Sacred Heart University and wanted to give back to the community by raising some money for charity. Now, just to make it a bit more fun, the fundraising was done through a pancake eating contest, which Caitlin was definitely up for. Little did she know, however, that it would be the last meal of her life. After she was 4 or 5 pancakes deep, the 20-year-old started to feel the effects of something terrible, and just like that, she was down on the floor shaking uncontrollably the following moment. 2 nursing students, in a combined effort with the police and paramedics, tried to save her. Oh, and to be fair, they did think that they'd helped her recover as she was taken to a nearby hospital in critical, yet stable condition. But only a day later, her condition got worse and she was transferred to the Columbia University Medical Center in New York. And 2 days after that, she was pronounced dead. This was the second tragedy that struck her family after her dad died on duty during the September attacks, when she was just 5. Plus, according to the Fairfield police, she had allergies, but they didn't actually contribute to her death. A candlelight vigil was also held at her university, where hundreds of people showed up to pay tribute. Number 7, not the whole bottle. In July 2022, a friendly drinking competition took a dark turn when one of the contestants died after downing an entire bottle of Jägermeister. 23-year-old Osborne Mabisi from South Africa was apparently out with his friends looking for ideas to make some extra bucks around town. The idea that they landed on was to take part in a local competition where anyone who could consume a bottle of Jägermeister in under 2 minutes wins a bunch of money. For context, one full bottle is pretty big in size, and considering the fact that it's got 35% alcohol in it, only a fool would try to attempt such a feat. But hey, guess money does make you do things you wouldn't have done otherwise. So when Osborne actually managed to down an entire bottle within 2 minutes, it was incredibly impressive. As a matter of fact, the video of him doing so even went viral and showed a bunch of people clapping and cheering for him during the dangerous competition. With that said, it didn't take long for him to feel woozy and pass out from excess consumption. He was obviously rushed to the local clinic, but by the time they arrived, he'd already died of alcohol poisoning. And now, his death has sparked a nationwide movement to crack down on these drinking games across the country. Number 6. Independence Day horror. In July 2014, an Independence Day hot dog eating contest turned tragic when one of the contestants choked on their food and died. Speed eating competitions are pretty common over the 4th of July weekend each year. In fact, people actually become famous if they snag the top prize. However, rarely do they ever go as wrong as this particular one did in South Dakota. 47-year-old Custer resident Walter Eagletail was one of the many people taking part in the competition in a bid to be crowned the new champion. And for him, this was the moment of glory that he'd always strive for. Of course, these contests can be brutal for any newcomer, as winners usually manage to swallow over 60 hot dogs in one go, which is a testament to human will and capacity. But on that fateful day, Walter wasn't prepared for the challenge that was being thrown at him. He started off doing pretty okay next to all the other competitors. Somewhere along the way, though, he tried to push himself too far and was hoisted by his own petard. The 47-year-old collapsed on the floor and started choking, and after attempts to save him failed at the scene, he was quickly taken to a nearby hospital where he tragically passed away. His death put an end to all the other festivities planned for the weekend, including a pie eating contest. Plus, according to the Custer Chamber of Commerce, which was responsible for organizing and sponsoring the event, everyone was at a loss for words over the tragic loss of one of their own. Number 5. Finger-Lickin good. In March 2016, an Indonesian man's love for fried chicken cost him dearly as he choked to death during an eating competition. 45-year-old Freddie Jayati from Jakarta was one of 3 contestants in the contest organized by KFC. The challenge? Well, they had to race to eat 3 full buckets of fried chicken wings in less than 5 minutes. And if you've ever had one of those, you know they're not the easiest thing to eat, especially if you're in a hurry. So while everyone was going ham at those wings, Freddie somehow managed to swallow one of the bones as well, which inevitably got stuck in his throat. Now, he did drink water to force it down, but again, it just wouldn't budge. When the situation got really bad, though, the police around him intervened and tried to give medical aid, but to no avail. In fact, he was rushed to the hospital, but nothing worked, and minutes later, he was pronounced dead. Called Eat or Treat, the contest offered over $8,000 to those who qualified, and Freddie happened to be one of those 3 people lucky enough to make it to the elimination round. So he'd obviously done his homework. The police reports later revealed, however, that the organizers didn't have enough medical personnel around to deal with such situations. Strangely enough, the competition was still allowed to carry on, though, with the eventual winner raking in a whopping $300,000 in prize money. Number 4. Strikeout. In August 2019, an amateur taco eating competition went south really fast when one of the contestants started choking on his food. 41-year-old Dana Hutchings was out to watch the Fresno Grizzlies team in California when he spotted a neat little contest during the baseball game, and thinking that he had what it took to reign supreme, he took up the challenge against a bunch of other fans. Now, these amateur events are super common in these parts, especially during minor league baseball games, since everyone's there to have a bit of fun. Little did Hutchings know, though, however, that this fun day was going to be his last. In the pursuit of going as fast as possible, he started to choke on his food, and while the medical staff at the Fresno Grizzlies did give him some initial first aid, it didn't do the trick, prompting them to transport him to the hospital. Upon arrival, the medical staff began pulling out food to clear his airway, but nothing seemed to work, as only 25 minutes later, he passed away. The incident obviously sent shockwaves across the entire baseball community, with the minor league team extending its prayers and condolences to his family. With that said, according to the team, the event wasn't actually sanctioned by them, and fan safety is always their top priority. Number 3. The cake is a lie. In January 2020, a cake eating competition during Australia Day celebrations misfired when an old lady choked to death. The event, which took place at the Beach House Hotel in Queensland, was supposed to be all about celebrating the national day. Besides, a cake isn't exactly the type of food that people choke on anyway. With that said, one woman who's said to be in her 60s apparently took things too far, as witnesses reported that she was shoveling lamingtons into her mouth with no restraint. During her fast-paced binge, she seemingly started dribbling and fell to the ground. Of course, within seconds, the hotel staff was on the case trying to resuscitate her, and paramedics were called to the scene as well. After trying everything from CPR to shocking her with electric paddles, they pronounced her dead. Interestingly enough, the coroner's report revealed that it wasn't the act of fast eating that took her life. Instead, it was the fact that she suffered a seizure that caused her to choke on her food. Number 2. Too many hot dogs. In October 2021 in Massachusetts, a Tufts University fundraiser went south when an eating competition contestant choked to death. 20-year-old Madeline Nickpon was a prolific university student and one of the top lacrosse players on campus. She was also the leader of her high school class. The point is that she had that competitive spirit in her. So when she saw that there was a hot dog eating contest being held near the campus for a breast cancer awareness fundraiser, she was all in. After all, it was a shot at winning something while raising money for a good cause. However, minutes into the competition, she started choking on her food and fell unconscious. Panic ensued as she was taken to a nearby Boston hospital where some signs of life were shown towards recovery. A day later, she lost the battle and passed away. Her passing sent shockwaves across the campus as thousands of students attended the memorial held for her. Plus, social media was also full of tribute posts, showing what a kind and generous person she was. A fundraiser was also created to cover her funeral and medical expenses, which, as expected, was supported by everyone and raised almost $200,000 for her family. Number 1. Not a prank. In November 2018, an Argentine ex-boxer took part in a televised croissant eating event. Things took a bit of a lethal turn, however, when he started to choke on his food. 56-year-old Mario Milo, who won multiple boxing championships in South America during the 80s and 90s, was meant to make an appearance at the local TV event. The pitch was simple. He had to show up, be praised by his fans, and eat a bunch of croissants. Doesn't sound too complicated, right? Well, that's what he thought. But minutes into the eating contest, he started choking on his food behind the announcer. Now at this point, you'd think that they'd go and help him. However, for some reason, everyone thought he was pulling a prank by gesturing to the announcer and started laughing instead. When his cries for help started sounding a bit too convincing, a doctor was summoned from the audience, and soon after, he was rushed to a nearby hospital. But sadly, it was already too late, and he was declared dead the following morning. Thanks for watching. If you had to take part in a food eating contest, what sort of food would you want it to be? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.